What I'm
Yeah.
trying to do with my YouTube channel is give people like a way to go above and beyond a lot of the typical like successful advice on Medium. So
Hmm.
more than just like write consistently and
Yeah.
write well, which I think everybody knows
Yeah.
how to do. So
Right.
I was really excited to kind of hear about how you had turned Medium into an opportunity for like both doing really well on Medium, but also this whole other editing gig that you've got going on.
Hmm.
Jordan Gross is a writer on Medium.
I'm just going to try to write my best for myself and,
Mhm.
try to make my grandma happy with my articles. And if she'll read them and love them, then that's good enough for me.
Definitely one of the more successful Medium authors.
I'm at, I think, 6 point something thousand followers. Last month was my best month ever, where I made $2,000 from the platform.
He told me that his secret is two things. First of all, he is not afraid to network.
Through Medium, I've been able to build some really great relationships, right? Meet a lot of different writers, meet a lot of different publication owners.
He used terms like relationship building or just getting to know people. But those people have opened doors for him because he wasn't afraid to step up, get to know people a little better. The second thing he told me was that he's not afraid to do free work, and that free work has actually turned into paid work on more than one occasion.
Adrian felt comfortable with me as an editor is because I spend probably a good 30 minutes before I write every day editing other people's articles.
And
I've
just to
been doing a
clarify, you
lot of
don't get
it.
paid for that. You do that because
No,
you
no,
like to
no.
help people and because it's nice to edit other
Exactly.
people's articles.
Yeah.
At first glance, Jordan's story seems like a lot of other typical Medium success stories. You know, he kicked it up a notch, he started publishing 3 times a week, and he made Medium work for him.
I was 23 years old. I quit my job in November 2017 and I self-published a book in like the next 2 months while I was looking for other stuff to do. And when I self-published this book, I did a little bit of research into, okay, what do you do now that a book is out, right? Does it just sell itself or what happens? And I found Medium and I put my first couple articles up in January 2018. It wasn't until July 2019 that I said, okay, I'm going to come back to Medium. And for the last 6 months, I've been going pretty intensely on Medium. I try to post 3 articles a week. Last month was my best month ever, where I made $2,000 from the platform.
But it's what comes later that's really interesting to me.
What it turned into is now I'm an editor for Mind Cafe.
So, how did you start talking with him, and how did that conversation go?
Relationships are just so important to me. Even with that Slack group,
Here, Jordan's referring to a Slack group of Medium writers that we're both part of.
I've tried to reach out to every single person and had a have a phone
Yeah.
conversation with them. That's how I was able to grow. I reached out to, I sent bold, audacious emails to people who were already, tops of their game in the writing world or the speaking world. So that's
Mhm.
what I do with Adrian. And at the publication, it was, these relaxed, inspiring essays to help you live a better life. And that's
Mhm.
literally my whole goal. So I reached out to Adrian when I saw that, and I just said, hey, I have an article I would love to write for you. And he was so, just like you said, so charming. We chatted a bunch through Medium. He offered an opportunity for people to think about editing for Mind Cafe. Not only was I like, yes, I would love to, but I was also like, hey, let's also get to know each other a little bit.
Yeah.
So now I edit for Mind Cafe 4 days a week.
Like as a person, I noticed this myself when you reached out to me when I first joined that writers channel on Slack. That trait of like wanting to reach out and build as real digital relationships as you can.
Yeah.
Combined with also, it seems like you're not afraid to just ask people for advice.
Yeah.
Meant to see like what they can teach you. So I think
Yeah.
those two factors, it sounds like, were kind of what led you down into the editing with Mind Cafe route.
Yeah. I have absolutely no hesitations or qualms with asking anybody for advice about anything. I think people love giving advice, right? When you're put in a position of teacher, it feels really empowering. Use it to really grow your network of like-minded people, right? And one of my favorite stories is that I read an article from Michael Thompson.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much. I asked him a really nice question about the article in the comments section. And then I even hopped onto LinkedIn, found him on LinkedIn, and just asked to connect with him there because I was just really inspired by his writing. There was really no ulterior motive at the time. And little did I know it was going to turn into like this amazing relationship. We send each other articles all the time. But it was because I genuinely appreciated what he had to say, and I wanted to let him know that I appreciated what he had to say. You never know what's going to happen if you do share with somebody. That was a wonderful article. It did this for me. That person may want to be your friend. They may want to be your teacher. They may introduce you to somebody who can help you, right?
Mhm.
So you never know what's going to happen when you connect with anybody, because anybody can be the link to whatever opportunity, whatever person you need to meet next.
This is what I mean when I say that Medium is more than just a place for you to earn money by writing about what you love. It is that, but it can be so much more too.
So thinking about Medium from that perspective, as opposed to just it's a place where I'm going to write and share articles and have the possibility to make money, it's just this like way bigger, life experience for me than it is just a writing platform.
I like the way you phrased it, like
Yeah,
just building relationships and
right,
asking people what they're interested about and letting them know that their work changed you, because that's all any of us
right.
does.
And another way I like to look at it too is that it makes for some really good story. If I were to look back at my life and say, hey, I read that article, I didn't reach out and nothing happened, right? End of story. When you reach out and you actually connect with somebody, you get to keep the story going. So I look at it like that as well.
I think a lot of people, they hear the word network and they're envisioning like, awkwardly making small talk with people, and that's
Yeah,
not at all. Especially
right.
like with writing, we're trying to build relationships here.
I think why Adrian felt comfortable with me hopping on board so quickly as an editor is
Mhm.
because I spend probably a good 30 minutes before I write every day editing other people's articles.
And
So I've
just to
been doing a
clarify, you
lot of
don't get
editing.
paid for that. You do that because
No,
you
no, no,
like to
no.
help people and because it's nice to edit other people's
Exactly.
articles.
Yeah, there's like a couple different benefits from that. I want to help people. I want to be active in the group. And also I believe that editing is very helpful for my own writing.
Since Jordan is an expert editor who has experience editing some of the most amazing Medium stories I've read and is now paid professionally to edit for Mind Cafe, I was really interested to hear what he had learned from editing as a writer, both for Mind Cafe and on his own.
What's different now is that I have to be cognizant of not just the person's personal brand and style of writing, but also Mind Cafe's
Right.
brand and style of writing, right? So like if you were to send me an article on Mind Cafe, I would be like, really uh I would have to really balance between, okay, this is how she normally writes versus this is how we want it to be on Mind Cafe, but we don't want to take away too much from her personal brand. What's also nice, unexpected benefit, but I guess I should have expected it. My first day editing for Mind Cafe, I published 3 articles from newer writers, and 3 messages were just like, you publishing this article totally changed my life. I can't tell you how meaningful it is to the start of my career as a writer, or me
Wow.
telling my story, right? It just made me realize that, it might seem small, but when you're editing an article and you're helping somebody put their story out into the world, you're really changing one life, right? And if my goal is to change the world, a really good way to do it is to change one life at a time. So it's really cool that I get to do that through reading people's work and submitting it on an online platform.
I love
Exactly.
seeing how other people have taken Medium and gone in all the different directions and how they have, as you say, kind of like
Right.
changed the world or started to. And
Yeah.
so like when you're editing a story personally, what's the thing that you're most likely to end up changing?
2 things for my personal editing. I'm really looking for if anything's missing. If it's 3 points about how to be a better communicator, could there be a 4th, right? Is there something that they're not talking about to make it more complete and thorough? For Mind Cafe, it's much different, right? Because I have some strict guidelines to adhere to. So usually I'm changing the headline
Okay.
all the time.
Really?
Um,
Huh.
yeah, changing the headline pretty much all the time to fit in with the Mind Cafe brand, to make sure that we're not violating any of Medium's rules. We don't want to
Right.
do things that are too listicle or clickbaity. And then honestly, something I've found to be missing from a lot of pieces from writers on Mind Cafe is conclusions, a closing thought, something that's going to make the reader say, okay, like what's next, right? But a lot of the time, what I'm seeing is writers are just, finishing up their last thought about whatever point they were making in that moment, but they're not bringing the article back full circle. The other thing that I always look for this, are there really gripping or creative concepts or lines in there? What's your hook, right? What's going to get somebody to keep reading? Because I've read so many articles at this point, when
Mhm.
something is different and unique, it'll definitely make me as a reader want to keep going to the bottom to see if
Yeah.
there's more of that
Yeah.
unique stuff. With Mind Cafe, and this is, maybe insider info, we put out around 10 articles a day. There are a lot more than 10 submissions in the queue.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for what I said earlier. I'm looking for articles that are really thorough because I have to reject some. Something has to stand out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why with the Mind Cafe editing, it's very important to really get something that it's taking a different stance on maybe something that's very popular, but it has its own little spin.
I have a lot of people who come to me, they're like, oh, are there any other ways I can make money on Medium? If anybody wanted to do what you had done and become an
Hmm.
editor for a publication that they really loved, what
Hmm.
what kind of person do you think would be able to do that?
First and foremost, enjoys reading with a very keen eye, right?
Mhm.
Like not just reading for pleasure, but also reading for intentionality. Second would be not being afraid to tell others where they can improve. So
Mhm.
having some sort of skills with giving feedback in a very constructive manner and not just saying this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but really providing value in the way that you're telling somebody to get better. And then I would say in regard to who you have to be in order to be an editor for a new publication, for instance, it's something we touched on earlier. Somebody who's willing to take the initiative and just ask somebody for some advice and build a relationship, and maybe even just ask somebody for the opportunity to do free work, right? So
Yeah.
at first, I didn't know I was getting paid.
Mhm.
So I can't stress enough the importance of free work getting turned into paid work. And one tip I wanted to share was if you want to go the editing route to make some money as a freelancer, for instance, right? Um, Pick a writer that you like, go to one of their articles, analyze it, go through it, fix it up a little bit in the best way that you see fit, even if it's published and has 20,000 claps already, right?
Yeah.
Go through it, make some suggestions, get in touch with that writer, and then just be really authentic and vulnerable and honest about what you were doing. Hey, I would like to be an editor at a publication, and I just took a look through this. Let me know your thoughts about what I shared on your post. Here's how it could have been even better than it was before, and even before it was amazing. Yeah, I'd say overall it's this person who is not willing to be a little unique and zig and zag and find their way into an opportunity.
I wasn't on Medium before it was monetized, but I hear some
Hmm.
of like the really big writers on Medium are like, "Oh yeah, I was here before we got paid," and they were doing
Right,
it because they loved writing and they didn't do
right,
it because they thought it would make them millions. And it sounds like that's kind of how it was for you. Like you started editing because you like to think critically about these articles and start thinking about
hmm,
how they can be even better, and then opportunities kind of presented themselves to you because of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really
that's
cool.
exactly right. Exactly. I mean, that's my whole life, right? Like I left a very high salary job to write for no money at all when I started. And it's turned into, it's very cliche, but because I wasn't focused on the money,
The money.
money has now followed. I will say it takes a long time and a lot of effort, right? It's not like just because you're pursuing what you want to do right away, money's going to follow. I'm 2.5 years in now and things are going pretty well from the financial stability, forecast.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say, both on the topic of editing on Medium, off Medium, or like anything about relationship
Uh,
building, and just how writing has kind of changed your life, I guess.
I would say that in regard to that in the moment decision, right? That do I reach out? Do I not? Do I take on the editing gig? Do I not? Right? You want to think with the mindset of fearing the what if more than the actual what. If you could project into the future and say, like, what if I would have done that? Right? You want to be more scared of that mindset than you actually are to go ahead and do something,
Yeah.
ask the question, take on the challenge, right? So if you are on the fence of whether you want to go ahead and do something new, do something daring, take on a new endeavor, try to have that mindset when you approach it, right? It's just basically living without regret. You want to ultimately live this life of becoming the person who you can be, as opposed to just somebody who isn't really bridging the gap between who you are and who you could be.
Okay, what an amazing interview. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being part of that and for sharing all your information with all the viewers of my channel. I want to quickly recap what some of the major points that I took away because there was so much going on. So if you didn't take notes, don't worry, I've got you. The first thing he said was that he's not afraid to network. Now, I know writers were a reclusive bunch, but just by reaching out and just sharing his genuine feelings on some pieces, he's managed to form really, really rewarding and also kind of influential and important relationships with some of the most popular writers on Medium, and that has only helped him as a writer, and it's helped him find additional freelance work on Medium as an editor. The second thing that he did was that he was not afraid to do free work. Now, I know not everyone has the luxury of doing this, but if you have a spare half hour in your day and you're thinking about becoming an editor and you don't really know where to start, that is such a great place to start. Do stuff for free, build up your skills, build up these relationships with the authors you admire, and just open yourself up to the possibility of opportunities that could come your way through this free work. So you don't really lose anything by trying, because by editing other people, even if you don't get a penny back, you yourself will become a better writer. So once again, thank you so much, Jordan. That was really, really valuable to hear for me and for everyone else who watched it. So everyone, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.